Hi, everyone. This is Amlan Datta. Thank you for coming for this session. I am not sure how many of you are aware of what we mean by a virtual exchange, so I'll sort of give a brief overview of that, and then I'm going to share the experience of our campus, which is on the latest 8th campus of Lone Star College, an online campus, and what we have come across and how we have dealt with the experience of a virtual exchange. Okay, so let me start. Let me hope this will move. Okay. These are the technology stuff. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see my screen, right? So I'm going to give a very brief overview. And if you can see something, just let Sita know. Thank you, Sita, for introducing me. Okay. You can use the chat to let her know, and we'll see what we can do. So what is a virtual exchange? It's basically an educational initiative that facilitates cross-cultural interactions and collaboration between students, educators, and staff from different countries using the online platforms. Okay, that's a very simplistic definition of what a virtual exchange is. We're exchanging ideas, thoughts, classroom scenarios if necessary, over a virtual media, basically an online media. The virtual means online media. So the big idea, virtual exchange idea, the idea has been around for a while. We have, or you probably have heard of something called study abroad, where actually our students go over to different countries during summer or different other periods of during the semester, and try to gain experience of what that country's specifics are, depending on what subject area you are talking about. It could be economics, it could be history, it could be political science. So this virtual exchange is basically a virtual version of study abroad. Okay, so that's in a very sort of nutshell what it is. This caught on more during the pandemic because that time all the travel was restricted. I know Lone Star College traveling was all restricted. We couldn't go. We had study abroad programs lined up, but everything had to be put on a full stop period. So the virtual exchange idea really flourished during this pandemic because students could sit at their home, at their computers, and talk to anybody else anywhere in the world, depending on where you set up that virtual exchange program. So I'm going to talk about how we did ours at Lone Star College, and specifically Lone Star College Online. It's really cost effective because going to a place, going to a country is, to be very honest, expensive. You have to buy air tickets, you have to stay at hotels and travel. And there are other, of course, expenses that are associated with that. In this case, in the case of a virtual exchange, you literally sit at your home at your laptop or your computer, and you don't have to travel, but you're actually traveling, but without traveling physically. So that way, it's very cost-effective way of getting to, exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, exchange concepts across to other campuses, other students in different universities across the world. Obviously, this provides an opportunity to have a cross-cultural experience for not only our students, even for us as faculty. I found that very valuable, and obviously our students found that also helpful. So it gives us an idea about different cultures. I'm going to sort of touch upon some of those that we came across during our virtual exchange program. It helps build networks. You get to know people. I get to know faculty from different universities. Students get to work with different students from different universities or colleges, and they can, with the great things of email and WhatsApp. Actually, they found we found that WhatsApp was a more popular way rather than using email. So WhatsApp is one method of communication, and they can build their own network, which can come in handy. You never know when, but it can come in handy. And of course, it can create lifelong friendships. The students working from different countries get to know each other, get to learn about each other. And we found that happening a lot And again, I'll touch upon that as we go along with our experience. So yeah, it builds up lifelong relationships. Obviously, our students get students at our college and students at a participating university or college, they get a global perspective. They know about, our students know about Houston, they know about Texas, they know about US, but a lot of them are really blank on what's going on across the world. So they get a global perspective of what is going on and how people are dealing with various scenarios in life. Okay. Again, cultural understanding is another thing that you know enhances student experiences. Of course, including their college experience. It's an academic enrichment. Again, you're having to work with students from different countries, and approaches, attitudes, everything is different. Okay, so they have like, we had students from other countries that we work with, who were even at the graduate level who were participating, and we had undergraduate students participating with graduate students. So that added onto the experience of academic enrichment. They got enriched by that. Language skills was very important for us. Our students, English was fine, but for other countries, English was not their language. So they were speaking to us in English, and they were putting in a lot of effort to improve their language skills, speaking skills, and it was very interesting to watch that, and their enthusiasm to talk to us in English. That was something that we found very interesting and very motivating. Soft skills development, like some leadership skills. We in these exchanges we have group work, we have breakout rooms where students from different countries work together. And we found during our virtual exchange that in almost every scenario, every breakout room or every group, leadership emerged. So leadership skills came out. Everyone was not a leader, or everyone did not want to participate in that leadership role. And some just volunteered, and they did extremely well in that. So that soft skills development, which these skills our students here, and of course the students at the participating universities, can take to the job market, where they can use that to land a good job, good paying job, in terms of even growth in those organizations where they join. And ultimately, it's also a personal growth. These are some of the other benefits of virtual exchange. A person grows when they get to broaden their views, have a better knowledge of what's going on in the world around them and different countries. So that allows them to grow personally, become more tolerant, I guess, more knowledgeable about what is going on around them. So these are some of the other benefits that virtual exchange provides. As far as we were concerned, Lone Star College, different campuses, including our Lone Star online campus, we participated with Amlan University of Cairo, Egypt. I have never been to Cairo. I have Egyptian colleagues who work for Lone Star, but actually seeing students and faculty from there participating with us, our students and our faculty, that was a fantastic experience. It was something I relished, and I found our students, when they provided feedback on this, they were really sort of motivated, charged up because of this type of interactions and the exchange that we went through. The overall program was under what we call Hiver partnerships. The Hiver is the Stevens initiative, who run the Hiver program. It's funded by the Department of State's exchange program. And I've just mentioned what Hiver stands for. The acronym is Hiver, Harnessing Innovation Through Virtual Exchange for Enhanced Results. That's what Hiver stands for. But basically, it's a Department of State's exchange program. And in our situation, we were working with our students in the US, Egypt, and the MENA region. MENA is Middle East and North Africa region, which included Morocco, Jordan, Tunisia, Iraq, and Palestine. So these were the MENA region countries, and plus Egypt. So we in the first exchange, we actually participated more with Egypt, and in the second one, we had more of Egypt, and we had Jordan and Morocco come in and join us on that. Few students and faculty joining us from those institutions. The format that we used, I teach economics primarily at Lone Star College. I've been teaching it for about 10 years. Previously, I was teaching at a different institution for another 8 years. So, and prior to that, part-time. So it's about 24 years of economics. I also teach business classes. In addition to economics, I take extra classes because my background is more into business. So for economics, we had two faculty from Lone Star College. That's me. One of them was me, and I had another colleague from a different campus. And we had one faculty from Helwan University and Cairo, Egypt. So this was both synchronous and asynchronous. So we had sessions which were synchronous, and they worked in groups which were asynchronous. We had about 21 students. We had a little more, but a few of them had to drop out because of various constraints. But we ended up with 21 students, and Helwan had 26 students. So it was one way of creating groups where they could work together. In the business case, business scenario, it was me, from Lone Star College, and we had one faculty from Helwan University. Again, it was similar, synchronous and asynchronous sessions. And I'll go a little bit more in detail as we go along. And we had 24 students from our end. These were independent of economics. So they were separate. They're not overlapping. Okay, economics was 21, business was 21, 24 separate students. Similarly for Helwan, they had 26 students in this case also. What we did primarily was there were 3 synchronous sessions or classes, you could say, where we actually taught. We taught in economics. I taught some of my subject areas. In business, me and my co-faculty at Helwan, we taught on a topic, on or 2 topics. So we had synchronous classes on that. Then we had group projects where there are students from both universities, university and college, Lone Star College. They worked in group projects, which were both synchronous and asynchronous. That's why I said that we found out as we went along that email was not a really preferred method from Helwan students. They preferred WhatsApp. They communicated more through WhatsApp, and if they wanted to work on something, submit something, they emailed each other. But they preferred communicating through WhatsApp, which is kind of not very, much used in the US. Our students did not use much of WhatsApp, but they got to know and use WhatsApp. So group projects was both synchronous and asynchronous. And ultimately, we had presentations from the groups, which were synchronous. Both Helwan University students and Lone Star University students participated in the presentations in a synchronous mode. So we had to find times because the time between our country and Egypt there was a lot of time difference between that. So we had to adapt that for situations where they could, participate. Our students at Lone Star College Online are mainly working students, so they could not participate in the daytime because they're working. So we had to find night times for us, and which were a lot sort of, sometimes late night for them in Helwan in Egypt, or early morning, very early morning. So we had to work those timings out so that they could participate in synchronous modes. Now, we were allowed to have 3 group projects from each group, like economics. We were given permission to have 3 projects. Business, we also had 3 projects. We had such good work coming out of these groups that we requested that can we have 5 group projects. We had 5 groups in economics, so we asked, can we have all of them present? And the administrators were magnanimous in allowing us to have 5. So normally it's 3, but they allowed us 5 group projects and presentations for economics. And for business, obviously, we stuck to 3 groups. We created little larger groups, and they made their presentations. The higher competition that is, which sort of oversees all of this, the group projects, subject-wise, we had economics and business, 2 separate groups projects. And it was open to all participating universities and colleges. Like I mentioned, 3 best groups were allowed, but in the case of economics, at our request, we were given an allowance for 5 groups. We could present, with 5 groups. From that, they select finalists, and that's done at the higher level. Okay. And it's not our universities, colleges or university involved, the Harvard people, they look at the presentation, they look at the topics, and they select finalists. And the winners get to travel to Helwan University in Egypt. So that's the cream of the pie. So the winners of this from all these groups for different subject areas, they get to travel to Helwan normally during summertime. But we did not get any of the, we were not the finalists, but we did get to participate in the presentation, synchronous presentations. What and the learnings from this virtual exchange, what worked well, students got to work across cultural differences. Let me give an example of that. When we were having Zoom meetings, synchronous meetings, we normally have, like even in this case, we have our names against our pictures, right? And at the bottom of your screen, you can see my name or you can see other people's name. Similarly, obviously they had their names, but a lot of had their names in Arabic, and we could not read them. Neither me nor my students could read them. So we asked them, requested them, can you change your name to English? So that's a cultural difference. For them, it's very comfortable. Even during synchronous sessions, they were interacting sometimes in Arabic. Excuse me. And we could not understand. So we requested them and their faculty, can you speak in English? So our students all spoke English, but if they spoke in Arabic, and it came naturally to them, they were just so excited and they started speaking Arabic. And like, hold on, we can't get it. We can't understand what you're saying. And then they would come to English. So that is a realization. It was fun, but it was again a sort of situation we understood that how other cultures work. And we sort of saw our students got to appreciate that also. We had to work across time zone differences between the US and Egypt. So we had to make adjustments. Excuse me. We had, like most of our synchronous sessions, we didn't have many synchronous, we had to have minimum 3 synchronous sessions, but we had more than that, especially during the presentation. We had to work in Houston. We had synchronous sessions at 6 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes 7 o'clock in the morning. And for them, it was afternoon. And we worked, the faculty and our students, we worked with the time zone differences so that we could make the best use of this time difference. And interesting thing that came up in spring last year, spring 23, when we had our first hybrid exchange program, or the virtual exchange program. It was a period of Ramadan, which is a Muslim sort of period when they do fasting and all of that. So most of the students in Egypt were fasting, and they would be eating, dinner in the evenings, which is when they break their fast. So the faculty I worked with, both for economics and business, they were both ladies, and they had to take care of their home. They had to feed their folks at home. So they used to say, it was so interesting. I found this really unbelievable. They used to finish their fasting. They used to have their meals in the evenings in Egypt. And then they used to come synchronous online for our students to participate. And there were times when they started, or we started our synchronous sessions in Egyptian time, 11 p.m., like 11 o'clock at night. We had all these students on Zoom, okay? And they were there, very enthusiastic. 11 o'clock at night, I had to literally sometimes tell them, like, we used to finish in maybe an hour and say, okay, it's 12 o'clock, now go to sleep. It's time for your sleep. So they said, no, we can carry on. So that's the level of enthusiasm we found, because our students were okay because we were looking at our time zone here. But there in Egypt, they're even working during this period of Ramadan at 11 o'clock at night to come to synchronous sessions, it was an eye-opener for me and our students. The group collaborations worked well. Like I said, they preferred communicating through WhatsApp. That's their main method of communication. But when it came to sending material, group projects, PowerPoints to each other. They did use email, but email was not their first preference. It's only when they had to submit something and collaborate on that, they were using email. But most of the time, the communications they preferred, even the faculty, not only the students, even the faculty. I had to set up email account. I mean, WhatsApp accounts. I have used WhatsApp for a while. I know WhatsApp, but they were like, "Do you have a WhatsApp number? Can we become a group in WhatsApp?" So me, other faculty from Lone Star College, and the Helwan University faculty in economics, we were communicating with each other through WhatsApp, and of course, we were also using email. But I found the WhatsApp responses were quicker, whereas emails, it sometimes took them a day or two to respond. So that way, that's something we understood, that every country has a different way of communicating. So even for the group collaborations and the project work, they use both WhatsApp and email to communicate and get that work. The enthusiasm was tremendous. Okay, both LSC, Lone Star College, and Helena University. What I found, like I think our students were a little more sober. The Helmand University students were like, they wanted to speak in English. So that's something that was really, it just showed the enthusiasm. And their professor actually had to stop some students. Okay, let others speak. Because one person would start speaking and he's speaking in English, and he's so happy that he can speak in English and we can understand, that he went on, and the professor from Helwan had to say, okay, so and so, let so and so speak now. Somebody else is waiting to speak. So from a language perspective, Helwan University students were really eager. The ones who participated, everyone ultimately opened up a little bit. Some of them were very shy. They were not very comfortable with their accent and with the language, but they still tried. But the ones who were a little more fluent in English, they just wanted to speak and speak and speak in English. So English speaking was a big thing for them, because they didn't get to speak to somebody in the US in English. So that was a great experience. And forget the grammatical errors, and but they got their message across. It was not perfect English, but they got their message across in English, and English is difficult for them. And like I said, at times they got so excited and they started speaking in Arabic, and we had to say, hey, hold on, we don't get it. Can you speak in English? And they went back to English. So that was fun and interesting and just exciting. Presentations involved most group members. Now, here also we found there were some groups where we had somebody controlling the PowerPoint, and the rest of them were speaking. Some of them were speaking more. So again, here we found that whoever was more confident about speaking, and we actually encouraged others also who were a little quieter, why don't you say something? And they ultimately opened up. So they got to speak. They got to gain confidence that they can speak in English with folks in a different country. So that was part of their cultural awareness, the excitement of having an opportunity to speak in English with somebody who is way across the world. And of course, the faculty cooperation was very important. Like I said, we found that me and my colleague found that if we emailed them, it took them 1 or 2 days to respond. And sometimes we needed a quicker response. So we came up with an idea of WhatsApp. Can we have a group using WhatsApp chat? And WhatsApp, you can also do video call, but unfortunately in Egypt, you cannot use video function in Egypt. It's blocked by the government over there. So you can still use the normal chat. So we got to respond to each other much more quickly, setting up appointments, setting up class times, setting up project reviews and everything through WhatsApp. We did use email when they submitted their project work, and they sent it to us, to all of us, all the faculty. Then they use email, but most of them we were using WhatsApp to communicate. So that was a nice way of knowing that that's a cultural difference. We can't really. I have not used WhatsApp with colleagues here. So WhatsApp with Egyptian University was a new experience for us. And even for the students also, they were mostly not familiar with WhatsApp. We had to explain to them, and they got to communicate with each other through WhatsApp. What did not work well? We had some issues, obviously. The synchronous classes, for Lone Star College online students were a little difficult because, number one, most of our students at LSC Online choose online because they are working full time. So most students were working full time, so they could not participate in the daytime. We had to find times where they could participate. Suppose we did it in the daytime over here, they would be working. And I have a lot of scenarios where students put in the chat that when we were having Zoom or WebEx, we normally had Zoom. They would put in the chat that I am driving to work right now, or I am in my office computer. So I can listen in, but I cannot talk. I cannot participate. So I'm in my office desk. So I can just watch, listen. They had headphones, they were listening, but I cannot speak because there are other colleagues around me. So that's one thing we understood, that for Lone Star College online students, we need to take that into consideration because they are working students. So, we had to ensure that they could still participate. They did asynchronously, but the synchronous part did not work well. Some of them who are full-time students did, but most of them, synchronous classes were, and they emailed me saying that I just can't participate. I would like to, but I have work to do. I'm at so-and-so place at work at that time. They got to collaborate mostly during weekends, okay, not weekdays. So weekdays they were WhatsApping each other or emailing each other, but they could not do synchronous. There was some mandatory synchronous sessions that were required. These few of our students could attend, but most could not because they were working. But Helwan University, fortunately for them, they were all full-time students, so they could all participate. So we had a bigger participation in the synchronous classes from Helwan University, whereas from Lone Star College online, because of the work commitments, they could not, even if they wanted to. But some of them got to because they were full-time students, or some of them were studying at different, they had classes at different campuses. So that's another thing that affected them, because that's one reason they choose an online course for a subject area. So we need to think of that also. Going forward, I'm going to sort of wrap it up and I'll leave it open for questions looking at the time. We need to find partners or partner institutions for LSC Online. This is specific to LSC Online, so that we can have more of asynchronous collaboration. One example that came up during our discussion was India, because India and the US have almost a 11 and a half hour difference. So asynchronous classes would work well in this type of scenario. There's no question of synchronous classes with India, because when we are working, they are sleeping. When they are sleeping, when they are working, we are sleeping. So it's an absolute opposite of the timing. So that might work well. With the case of Egypt, the gap was not so big. There was a substantial gap, but it was not so big. So some of our students could participate, and we had synchronous sessions at 6 o'clock in the morning in Houston, or maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which sort of worked. We worked out those timings for them, but even there, they were attending synchronous classes at 11 o'clock at night, and the classes went on till 12:30 in the morning the next day. So they were participating fully, but this is because we did not have a big difference. But in the case of countries where we have a big time difference, I think asynchronous would work very well for Lone Star College Online. It may be different for other campuses, but for Lone Star College Online, we need to find situations where our students can participate without disrupting their work schedule. So we have to work on basically Lone Star College Online students' needs and the time constraints that I was mentioning, that they have to, work with, work here, and at the same time they can participate. So like I said, it is mostly during weekends they could sit down and chat or use email, but during the week they were a little handicapped on that. So we need to keep that into consideration as we go forward into the virtual exchange area. That sort of sums up my presentation on virtual exchange and Lone Star College online experience. We have around 14 minutes, I think. Yeah, a little less than 14 minutes for Q&A. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, or I can look up the chat or Q&A and I can try to address those. Sita can help me with that if you have.
Thank you, Dr. Amlan, for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. Yes, one is, what were the lessons learned in your experience with this program?
Number one, we are in a global scenario, global world. Everyone wants to learn. Everyone is enthusiastic as far as our students are concerned here and in Egypt. But we had handicaps which we have to overcome. We realized some of the handicaps in terms of timings and the type of students we have at Lone Star College Online. This was not a problem with normal campuses where you had face-to-face classes, because the professor would set it up in his classroom and they would beam it. They have a Zoom session and they have a screen and they could participate. But as far as, because all the students in that scenario would be in the classroom. But in our case, our students are working full time, so they could not. So we need to keep that in mind when we set up virtual exchanges, so that, like I mentioned, if we have time differences which are larger, then it's like in India is opposite to what we have. Our day is their night, their day is our night. So that might be a better way to get our students, and obviously they'll still get that cultural exchange, cultural experience, working with any country in the world, because they are different. I had a lot of realizations when I actually, the faculty also, I realized, okay, it's very different from how I think and how they think. Like I was asking the faculty at Helwan, can we do it at this time? And she said, hello, Amlan, this is Ramadan. We have to go home at night up from the university, cook, feed our folks, and then I can join. And that was a relation, it just hit me from the blue. So that was a good learning experience for me and our students also. Yeah. So, yeah.
Second question is, was the collaboration with the equivalent of a community college in Egypt or India?
The one we worked with, thank you for that question. The one we worked in Egypt was a university. So we had both undergraduate and graduate students. Community colleges, I'm not sure they're very much a part of their system like we have in the US. Even in India, the community college, and they're actually trying to develop community college concept in India, but it's still in a very infancy stage. I was actually trying to set up a study abroad before the pandemic. I had actually visited one of the community colleges in India, and I actually got to know the president because he came for a conference in Austin. Um, and we were pretty much into having an exchange program with the community college in India and our college here, Lone Star College. But in the meantime, when everything was sort of finalized, the pandemic hit and everything had to be put on hold. So it's still in its infancy in India. I know in Egypt, I am not aware of community college. The ones we work with, Lone Star colleges, the college works with, are all universities. Universities in Morocco, in Rabat, um, Helwan University in Egypt, University in Jordan. I don't think, have that type of prevalence of community colleges in other countries like we have here. Hopefully that answers your questions.
One other question was, what about China, Japan, or Korea?
Yeah, China, we had Lone Star College had a big setup. There were faculty from Lone Star College going and teaching there almost for a year, sometimes more than a year. That dried up. For various reasons, that dried up. But we had a very strong collaboration with Lone Star College. Japan, I am not aware. I did not hear anything from our earlier chancellor. But South Korea, I think we are having some faculty going and working in South Korea also from Lone Star College. So those are physical teaching sort of assignments you could. So they used to go to the country and stay there and teach and then come back. In the virtual exchange, it's all over online. It's no physical movement of that. So maybe we can look at more options about having virtual exchange with other different countries. Again, depending on which campus, if it's a face-to-face campus, it should work with most universities or colleges across the world. But if it's an online, Lone Star College online scenario, we have to look at our students and how they can participate. That's the main learning that came out of this, that our students have specific needs, and we need to address that so that they can participate fully. And asynchronous, and especially in the asynchronous mode. Synchronous doesn't seem to work well with LSC Online. That's from the very limited experience that I've had with virtual exchange. LSC Online, synchronous sessions are probably not the right thing to do, but we can always explore that.
Definitely. We do have a couple more questions. Filippo Tagliati, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, asks, how did you pick the Cairo University specifically? Who was in charge of that decision?
Okay, thank you. Great question. Thank you. I did not choose. Okay. Filippo, I did not choose. We have an honors and international education department at our systems office. They reach out and try to collaborate under different, it could be under US government guidance, or it could be mostly under US guidance, government guidance, the Department of State guidance. They have a list of universities who would like to collaborate with US universities and colleges. So our honors and international education department, Dr. Catherine Caruso, she's in charge of that. They go out and explore and they decide. So I did not get to decide right now. For example, we have another collaboration with, I think it's University of Morocco at Rabat Business School. And we have had some faculty actually go physically over there. Again, this was before the pandemic, and try to set up, so we have specific list provided by the Department of State, which I think they provide funding also for this. The Department of State provides funding, so that's probably another incentive for our Honors and International College to explore those opportunities. So yeah, the Honors and International Education department actually explores that and tries to find out who will fit into what we are looking for as Lone Star College.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question.
The next question we have is futuristic looking, and they ask, what topics of the exchange would you want to do again in the future? Well, not again, what would you want to do in the future?
Yeah, I would like, this is personally, I would like to have more group work, because when you work in groups, you get people's pluses and minuses. And I had those, feedback. Students emailed me and other faculty who's working well with them, who's not working well with them. So that's a learning experience, both from students from our country and the other countries. And it's a learning experience for our faculty. So we made adjustments. So I would prefer to have students work in groups from different countries in this virtual exchange program. And during that exchange, in this group work, I think they get to know each other even better. Okay, it's not only academic part, they get to know about each other's lives, each other countries. I think that's a big plus for our students, and of course the countries we participate with. Like I said, like they were always wanting to speak all the time, because they were getting to speak in English, and that was fantastic for them. And when they got excited, they started speaking Arabic, and we said, hey, go back to English, we can't understand you. So that is something I think they're going to carry on the rest of their life. They're just going to remember that. And that's the type of experience we want our students to have, and see that somebody from a different country is speaking in Arabic, and we ask them to speak in English, and they speak in English, because our students, most of them cannot speak Arabic. So it's a realization that there's so much difference around people across the world, and yet we are very similar. We have same type of aspirations. We look at same type of careers. We're studying the same type of subjects. We have faculty just like they have here, they have faculty there. So just seeing those things, especially in synchronous mode, or even in an asynchronous mode, I think it gives value to what we are trying to do in this virtual exchange.
Sure. One last question, because we're really running short of time. Nissa McWilliams asks, how can instructors join the program? I teach online geography courses, but have experience teaching other courses.
I think if you approach the Honors and International Education department, they can find suitable placements where they can, like, I know about English and accounting and business that we worked with. Maybe they can start something with geography, or something, maybe political science. Political science may be a little sensitive, but they can look into opportunities of which universities would like to collaborate or colleges would like to collaborate with us. So why don't you reach out to them? If you just go to Lone Star College site, you'll find honors and international education. Click on that, and hopefully they'll have an email that you can contact. Or even you can contact Dr. Caruso, Catherine Katie Caruso, Caruso. Just plug in Caruso in the email box, and her name should pop up, and you can write to her that this is what I teach, and I'm interested in working on can we work something out? And they probably will be able to find out universities or colleges who would like to collaborate in this area. But thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Professor Datta. I'm sorry, but we're out of time for this session.